Well, we're thrilled to have him actually with us on campus, UCD Alumni Award winner in sport, Leo Cullen. Leo, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Pat.
What is your standout as a player and as a coach?
Oh, it's very hard to say, really. The big thing for me is the relationships that you forge over time. Like when you're involved in sport, particularly rugby, it's a contact game. So from my playing time in particular, I think back to like when I was a kid playing in school, all the underage teams I was involved in. Like those memories are as important to me as when you go on to do things at a more senior level, whether that's Leinster or Ireland or wherever else. So that's the thing to me for stands out the most is the relationships that you have. You see people nowadays, X many years later, and like you still have the same bond. Particularly if you've had success. I think because when you work towards something, as like in a team sport like that we have in rugby, and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears along the way. But to come out the other side of that, and particularly off the back of success, I think they're bonds that you have forever. Like it's an amazing thing to have. So like some guys, I was as I said, like from when I was in school, and like the laughs when you meet up now, 25 odd years later, and the memories are like they were just a couple of days ago.
Nowadays, you have academy players, and they are trained like the professionals they will become. What was it like though back in the day in UCD? Was it crack?
Like we had a great time now, yeah, but you were still very serious about your craft, so to speak, like which is playing the game. So I left school in '96. Like if you think the game of rugby only really went professional after the World Cup in '95, and really in Ireland in '97.
Yeah.
So Mike Ruddock, Rhys Ruddock, who's in the current Leinster squad at the moment, Mike was Rhys's father. So Mike was Leinster's first professional coach in '97. So I would have been in university here at that stage, just finished year one in college. So I would have joined up and trained with the senior group at that stage, and like it was pretty full on.
Yeah.
But you're
a rude awakening.
Yeah, but like everyone's trying to find their way in professional rugby because guys are getting paid for the first time really after being amateur, and there was still that kind of a mix. So we were blessed in many ways because we were young and hungry and keen and all the rest, whereas obviously there was a few guys at the other end that very much living in the amateur ethos of the game, which was brilliant as well. But there's probably a slight contrast in terms of what would be acceptable Monday to Friday, really.
The idea of a few pints in O'Donoghue's the night before a match, staying overnight in Shelburne.
I never really quite got to. Which definitely there was a few people in that era, like for sure. But that was the beauty of the game as well. So like in many ways, like amateur sport is amazing as well. We're blessed that we do what we do and we get paid to do what we do. But there's a big part of me would have loved to play in that amateur era as well.
And have
more
that
fun.
mixture,
exactly,
more fun. The thing about a career in rugby, now you have extended your rugby career because you're now a very serious coach, and you will have a long career, I suspect, in coaching, whether it's with Leinster or beyond in the greater world. But for most people in rugby, it's a short career. So what would you say to the students of today, the sports scholars, for example, in UCD, who are bent on a career in rugby?
Yeah, well, we're building, it's only a couple of buildings across the way there. So, for when they come into the academy, the study piece or some level of interest outside. So, the majority of our guys are studying, and they're high pressure university degrees that they're doing as well. And it's definitely a much more holistic approach we'd like to take on the individuals, making sure that their life after rugby is being taken care of. And we have a newly appointed professional development manager. Dr. Emma Burrows is with us now, and so it's something that the club places huge value on. And UCD have been excellent as well in terms of how accommodating they are with a lot of players and the course that they take. Some of the other universities as well. But for us, like it's. I've seen so many players that I would have played with when I was younger that, far more talented, probably on a better trajectory that, have had their careers robbed really, like because of injury. And, when you're playing a contact sport, that's just part and parcel of the occupation. And it can get taken away quite quite soon and quite young for players. So it's always important just to have that balance. And like rugby should be a fun part of your day as well. So I think it's always nice to have something outside that's a little bit more onerous, I guess. So when you come into work, like it's fun. Like at the end of the day, like kids pick up rugby balls because they enjoy and they're running around and bashing into each other and all the rest. I've young kids now,
I'm sure
so I see it.
pre-season is not that much fun.
Well, we try to make it fun for them. But the going back to your point around the study piece, like it's massively important for us, and to try things out as well. So try things out, because if you're, some of the players like they've bit of profile, whatever else, so they've got the opportunities to go out and. Network can be a bit of a dirty word, but to get out there and just experience other things outside rather than just be, go to training, go home and whatever, watch TV or whatever else people would do. But it's just to have some level of interest. And a lot of guys are very, very proactive in terms of, trying out different career opportunities and just to, dip your toe in the water, which is very much what college life should be about as well.
Sometimes it's maybe difficult for someone who excels in one area like rugby, and then they try their hand at something else, and they're not the best, at least they're not the best yet at this new thing, and they're kind of a bit nervous about that. Yeah,
exactly. And like the guys do get a lot of very nervous, very anxious, because you're used to kind of living, sometimes it's easy to live that kind of monastic lifestyle. So it's training, go home, and you can hermit yourself away from the world a little bit. So it's important for guys to get out into the big bad world and not to have this, when your career is over, that it's suddenly this big adjustment. And that's going back to even just compared to like a student here in college life. It's easy to bury your heads in the books and, focus on your course. I think there's so many other parts of student life to experience, all the various different clubs and societies that there are. So, I think would be my big message. For our guys coming in, I think, we push this, the personal development space. So like even just the way our week is structured, we'd have a day when that's what it'd be labeled as, personal development, professional development. What are you actually doing with your time outside of here? Because, it's rather to get busy people as well.
Let's talk about you and pressure. I mean, the scene has changed this year because the Pro 12 is no more. We now have South African clubs with a vengeance coming in. So far, all going according to plan, touch wood. But that means some sort of adjustments for you, a new challenge every year and maybe new targets.
Definitely. Like the challenge for us with what pro rugby you call it, so it's a cross-border competition for starters. With the Celtic nations, Italy joined as well, and now the South Africans have joined. So, and the South Africans will add, because it's such a big rugby market, they're the current world champions, and they'll have a lot of Springboks playing in the competition. A lot of those guys are not playing currently, obviously, because they're still involved in the rugby championship. So the biggest adjustment is probably for the 4 South African teams, because they've got to get used to the travel. They've just finished Currie Cup. They're straight over here. With COVID and all the rest, there's massive challenges just logistically with travel. So it's been hard to get this off the ground. So, but what they can offer over time, like it's such a big rugby market. Anyone that's been to South Africa will know, there's rugby on the TV morning, noon, night down there. And it's in the blood, so to speak. So, and there are 4 huge franchises with huge supporter base and tradition and heritage and all the rest. So, I'm hugely excited by the challenge. We've got up and running against the Bulls so far. So the big challenge, I think there's more of a challenge for those 4 teams. But over time, I think they'll adapt and they'll go from strength to strength, I think. So, it's another dynamic that we have to deal with. We're not due to go out to South Africa till, May time. So again, we've a bit of time to plan it. We were actually getting ready just before COVID hit. We were getting ready at the time to get ready to go to South Africa. And it was only on the Thursday, really, of that week we were due to fly on the Saturday. I was presenting at a board. We had a board meeting across the way, and I said, I need to have a look at this trip here, fellas. The way things are escalating, and like later on that afternoon, the trip was gone. So that's how quickly it happened.
Okay, but your ambitions are still to win everything this year. That's always your ambition.
Well, win the next game, I think, is always the ambition.
It's a good step.
Exactly, yeah. So, we have a good, ambitious group there at the moment. Competition is good amongst the playing group, and they all want to be successful. Going back to the start of the conversation here, like it's the it's the bonds and the friendships that people remember, but it's generally off the back of winning, whereas those bonds are the strongest, where you've experienced success together, because it's like closing the loop, really, isn't it? You know, so you start off at the start of a campaign and everyone has the dreams and ambitions, but then you go through the twists and turns, and as I said, the disappointments along the way, but it's trying to stay the course and all the rest.
You are the UCD Alumni Award winner for 2021 in sport, but if it hadn't happened for you in rugby, what would Leo Cullen be today?
I don't know. I never thought I'd get into coaching. It was the funniest thing, really, because I watched all the coaches thinking, gibbers, like half of them were mad, well, half mad, lots of them, more than half mad, a lot of them. So I always looked at that job thinking, I'd never do that. So yeah, what I would have done exactly, I'm not too sure. A family business I would potentially got into. So that was one option. But yeah, I don't know. Like, turn my hand to something, I think. But yeah, coaching is a pretty hazardous career anyway. So as I'm sure you're well aware, we all start off. Normally there'll be a launch for the start of the season, and you're kind of looking around all the coaches and thinking, out of these 12 or 14 or 16 as is now, like how many will be still in situ in 6 months' time and 12 months' time. So it's never 100% anyway. That's all I know.
So finally, Leo, what does the award from UCD mean to you?
It's an unbelievable honour for me. For me, when I was in university, it was because I this kind of dual career piece, and you're trying to literally get your degree done quickly because you can focus on the other piece. And if I had my time back, I'd probably use my time. Well, as in the 3 years that I did in UCD, it was great and great to get a degree out the back of it. There's lots of things I've probably tried my hand at since. Some with success, some others with failure. At least you learn. And so for me, like, the experience of being in UCD was amazing. I wouldn't say I was stellar grades now by any stretch of the imagination. But it's an unbelievable honour. Like, you walk around the campus, it's such an amazing place. So I'm sure there's been amazing scholars and sports people that have come out up here. So to get an award is an amazing honour for me personally.
Well, you get straight A's in coaching anyway, Leo. Leo Cullen, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Pat. Yeah, appreciate it.